The desert discovery. The sun burned over the empty desert, turning the air into a shimmering haze. Heat rolled off the endless dunes, and the only movement was a small convoy of trucks bouncing slowly over the sand. In the lead truck, Dr. Amelia Ross sat in the passenger seat, her eyes locked on the scanner in her lap. The device kept flashing with readings that made no sense. "Are you sure it's not broken?" the driver asked, sweat dripping down his face. Amelia shook her head. "I've checked it 3 times. There's something under the sand, something huge." They stopped at a flat stretch where the sand looked oddly smooth, as if the wind never touched it. Her team quickly set up digging equipment. Within an hour, the first shovels struck something solid. Not stone, not clay, metal. But it wasn't the kind of metal that rusted or scratched. It was smooth as glass, reflecting sunlight so bright they had to shield their eyes. "Looks like a wall," one of the workers muttered, running his hand along the surface. But the wall didn't end. When they tried to follow it, it stretched on for hundreds of meters in both directions. They brought in a cutting torch, but the moment the flame touched the surface, the torch sputtered and died. The team switched to industrial drills. Within seconds, the bits shattered into pieces. "This metal, it's not on the periodic table," Amelia whispered, staring at the fragments in her hand. "We shouldn't even be able to touch this." By the 3rd day, word of the discovery had spread. Satellite scans were brought in, and the results sent shockwaves through the research team. The wall wasn't just a wall. It curved downward, forming part of an enormous sphere buried under 60 meters of sand. The scan estimated its size at over 4,000 kilometers across. "That's bigger than our moon," one technician gasped. No one could explain it. No one demanded on R2. Then came the order from above. Seal the site. Government trucks rolled in, soldiers formed a perimeter, and all outside communication was cut. Amelia was told she could continue her research, but only under military supervision. That night she stayed near the excavation, unable to sleep. The desert wind was still. Too still. The air felt heavy, like before a storm. She was staring at the metal surface when it happened. At first it was just a faint tremor under her feet, soft enough to make her think she imagined it. Then the vibration grew stronger, spreading through the ground like a slow heartbeat. The metal began to hum. It wasn't loud, but the sound carried through her bones, deep and resonant, like a voice too old to understand. Sand around the edges of the wall started shifting, slipping away as if pulled by an unseen force. She stepped back, heart pounding. Her radio crackled with static, and she heard one of the soldiers shouting, "Ma'am, we've got movement underground." The voice cut out. Above her, the stars shimmered strangely, as though the air itself was bending. In the far distance, she thought she saw the dunes rise and fall, like waves on an ocean. Amelia pressed her palm against the surface. It was warm now, alive, and she realized something that made her throat go dry. This wasn't a piece of wreckage. It was a ship, and it was waking up. Far away beyond Earth's skies, something else stirred. In the black silence between the stars, ancient listening posts, machines older than human history, blinked to life for the first time in millennia. They sent a single message across the void, repeating it in every language the galaxy had ever known. Titan-class vessel detected. Origin, Sol 3. Status, reactivation, imminent. Amelia didn't know it yet, but her discovery had already been heard by civilizations far beyond human reach. Civilizate. Ions that remembered the last time such ships moved through the stars. Civilizations that had sworn never to let them rise again. In the desert, the hum faded and the sand settled back into place. But Amelia could still feel it, deep under her feet, the slow, steady pulse of something far too large, far too powerful to belong to her world. She didn't know if it was friend or enemy. All she knew was that whatever it was, it had just noticed humanity. Whispers across the galaxy. In the deep black between galaxies, a massive space station hung like a crown of silver, its curved walls glittering with the light of distant suns. Inside, the Galactic Council was in session. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in a towering hall of glass and metal. The meeting had been routine: trade routes, border disputes, mining rights. But everything changed when the chamber lights dimmed and the emergency crest burned into the air. The signal was ancient, so ancient that many in the hall had only seen it in history scrolls. It was a warning symbol no one wanted to see. A short, sharp tone cut through the air. Then a voice, cold, metallic, and speaking in the root tongue, the language from before the stars were mapped. Titan-class vessel detected. Origin, Sol 3. Status, reactivation imminent. For a long moment, no one moved. The council speaker, a tall, crystalline being whose body refracted light like a living prism, leaned forward slowly. "Repeat that location." "Sol 3, the machine replied. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Sol 3, a primitive backwater, catalogued as human colony. Developing. No warp fleets, no planetary defenses, not even a seat on the council. "How could they possibly have a Titan?" hissed Varancourt, the scaled warlord of the Keth Dominion. His voice was more growl than speech. "Those ships were destroyed at the end of the Great War." "They were not destroyed," corrected an older voice from the far corner. "It belonged to Chancellor Iriel of the Ithari, one of the old Ishots, recent surviving species in the galaxy. They were hidden. Only the ancients knew where. Until now." The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Fear, disbelief, anger. Hollow maps bloomed into the air, showing the Sol system, the blue-green sphere of Earth spinning slowly in the middle. Red markers pulsed over the desert where Amelia's team had been digging. Varancourt slammed a clawed hand on the table. "We must act now. Send fleets, before the humans awaken it fully." "Interference with a developing world is forbidden," said the speaker sharply. "Forbidden?" The warlord's eyes burned. "Do you understand what a Titan is? One ship like that can wipe out entire fleets. It can shatter moons. It can burn worlds. If the humans gain control—" "They will not," Iriel interrupted softly. "They don't know what they've found, and they have no idea what will come for them when the galaxy learns." Across the chamber, an AI envoy projected data, records of the last time a Titan moved. Images flickered, a single ship holding a blockade of 50 war cruisers, a Titan tearing open a wormhole to swallow an enemy fleet whole, planets falling silent in hours. And then came the name that made even the warlord's voice go quiet: the last human empire. The records showed humans, but not like the ones on Sol 3 now. These were taller, clad in war armor of light and steel, commanding Titans as if they were extensions of their own will. That empire had vanished 10,000 years ago, leaving only myths and ruins. Yet here, in the year 4729 of the galactic calendar, the same human world, untouched for millennia, was now reawakening a ship from that forgotten age. The speaker finally spoke. "We will send an observation fleet, only to monitor." Varancourt smiled thinly. "And I will send mine to assist." The council murmured uneasily, but no one challenged him. Everyone in the chamber knew what assist meant. Far across the void in the darkness between stars, fleets began to stir. Weapons were armed, warp gates warmed, and every captain who heard the signal knew the truth. This was not a rescue mission. This was a race to claim the Titan, or destroy it before the humans could remember who they once were. Back on Earth, Amelia stood alone in the desert night. She had no idea that her discovery had just set the galaxy on fire, but she could feel it. The hum under the sand was stronger now, pulsing like a heartbeat. And somewhere in the distance, deep in the black sky, something was moving toward her world. The awakening. The storm came without warning. One moment the desert night was calm, with the moon casting silver light over endless dunes. The next, the air exploded with wind and sand, turning the sky into a boiling wall of darkness. Amelia clung to the support beam of the nearest tent, her eyes stinging as grit tore at her skin. But even through the howl of the storm, she knew this wasn't natural. The wind wasn't pushing the sand around. The sand was running away. The ground beneath her shook, sending waves through the surface like ripples in a giant pond. Men shouted in panic. A truck slid sideways and tipped over, swallowed halfway into a crack that had split open in the earth. Then she saw it. Through the wall of flying sand, an impossible curve of metal rose, glistening in the moonlight like liquid silver. It wasn't just emerging, it was pushing the desert aside, sand pouring down its sides in glittering waterfalls. Lights, cold, blue-white, and alien, began winking on along its length, forming patterns that shifted like a living language. Her radio buzzed violently. "Dr. Ross, you're seeing this, right? It's miles wide. The scanners are losing it. The shape's too big to—" Static swallowed the rest. She took a few steps forward, her boots sinking into the trembling ground. The sheer scale of the thing made her chest tighten. It was like Stan, ding beside a mountain that had decided to stand up. Then, a deep, resonant pulse rolled through the air so heavy it rattled her bones. It wasn't sound exactly, it was feeling. The kind of vibration you'd expect from something alive breathing in the dark. A seam appeared in the hull, stretching hundreds of meters high. Slowly, with the precision of 1,000 machines moving as one, the seam pulled apart to reveal a corridor wide enough for a skyscraper to fit inside. Inside, the walls glowed with shifting symbols. The light was too clean, too pure to be electric. It was like captured starlight bleeding through crystal veins. Against all orders screaming in her head, Amelia stepped inside. The air was warm, dry, and faintly sweet, like the inside of a greenhouse. Gravity pulled gently under her feet, stronger than Earth's but not crushing. The floor beneath her wasn't flat. It breathed, rising and falling in slow waves, as if she was walking on the back of a sleeping creature. And then, in the center of the vast chamber, she saw them, figures carved into the walls. Humans. Not dressed like anyone from her world, but in armor that shimmered with the same silver as the ship's hull. They stood beside towering machines, each the size of a skyscraper, holding weapons that looked like captured suns. One scene showed them standing against a wave of shadowy creatures that swallowed whole cities. Another showed a council of alien races bowing before them. It wasn't history. It was memory. A voice echoed suddenly in the chamber, not from speakers, but from everywhere at once. It spoke in a language she didn't know, yet somehow understood. Designation confirmed: human, command access pending, awakening sequence initiated. Amelia's breath caught. She didn't move. She didn't blink. Outside, in orbit above Earth, every satellite flared with static as an energy surge ripped, ped through the atmosphere. The pulse was strong enough to be picked up across the solar system. On the edge of space, alien fleets, still days away, received the signal and accelerated, their warship drives burning like comets. Back in the desert, the massive ship rose higher, its shadow covering miles. The ground quaked under its weight, and the air hummed with the rhythm of something impossibly old, impossibly strong, and fully awake. And Amelia knew there was no going back. The enemy arrives. It started with a shadow. Not on the ground, but across the stars. One by one, familiar constellations above the desert vanished, blotted out by something vast, moving between Earth and the moon. Amelia looked up, shielding her eyes, and saw shapes sliding silently into view. Sleek, predatory silhouettes that caught the sunlight in hard metallic flashes. Warships. At first they looked like a few black specks, but as they descended through the upper atmosphere, the scale became terrifying. Each ship was a floating fortress, bristling with weapons, moving with the precision of a hunting pack. The ground teams in the desert went wild, soldiers shouting, vehicles roaring to life, floodlights snapping on to track the alien vessels. Amelia's radio exploded with overlapping voices. Unknown crafts entering low orbit. Repeat, we have confirmed non-human contact. They're heading for the excavation site. The air above the site shimmered, and a spear of blue plasma screamed down from the sky, striking the sand half a mile away. The blast threw up a mushroom of molten glass, the shockwave flattening tents and sending people tumbling like rag dolls. The Titan moved before anyone could command it. Its hull rippled and enormous panels unfolded from its sides, locking into place with a sound like mountains grinding together. A wall of pale light erupted around the ship, a shield, solid and humming like a giant heartbeat. The next plasma strike hit the barrier and scattered harmlessly into sparks. From the alien ship's more tears, it rained down, guided missiles, railgun slugs, streams of green energy. The Titan's shields flared brighter, absorbing it all, and then the ship answered. Sections of its hull slid open, revealing colossal cannons that rotated toward the sky. They fired with no visible flame, no recoil, just a sudden rip in the air as if space itself had been punched. The first alien cruiser took the hit head-on and folded in half like paper, its front section vanishing into nothingness. In orbit, the rest of the alien fleet hesitated. Inside one of those ships, Varancourt, the scaled warlord of the Keth Dominion, watched from his command throne. His yellow eyes narrowed as he saw the Titan defend itself without a single crew member at the controls. "So, it remembers how to fight," he growled. "Then we must strike harder." On Earth, Amelia stumbled into the shadow of the colossal hull. She could feel the vibrations through the sand, deep, steady, and alive. From the open corridor above, the same voice from before echoed down, calm and certain. "Hostile forces detected. Defensive protocol engaged. Human command required." A hatch descended like a drawbridge, lowering toward her. The message was clear. The ship was calling her inside. Above, the alien fleet began to reconfigure, dozens more ships sliding out from behind the larger carriers. They were bringing everything down on one spot, the Titan and the lone human standing at its entrance. The desert wind carried a low, rising hum from the ship's core, like the deep inhale before a roar. Amelia took the first step onto the ramp. The war for the sky, the first shot shook the world. It didn't come from Earth. It came from above. A spear of red energy, brighter than the sun, tore across the night sky and slammed into the Titan's shield. The desert flashed white, heat washing over everything like an open furnace. Amelia staggered in and eyed the command chamber, her skin prickling even through the shield's protection. "Shields at 87%, the ship's AI announced in its calm, ancient voice. Above the desert, the alien armada spread out like a metal storm. Hundreds of warships moved in perfect formation, cutting off every escape path. From orbit to high atmosphere, the sky was thick with enemy craft, fighters, bombers, and massive carriers, all armed and locked on target. Multiple hostile signatures closing, the AI continued. Recommend offensive engagement. Amelia's hands trembled on the control sphere. She could feel the Titan's awareness brushing against her thoughts, waiting for her decision. Outside the panoramic view screen, a squadron of alien destroyers dived toward the planet, leaving trails of burning plasma behind them. Engage, she whispered. The Titan didn't fire weapons in the way human ships did. There was no roar of missiles, no flash of cannons. Instead, its hull lit with moving patterns and the air around it warped. Space itself seemed to tear open. Thin, jagged rifts of black swallowing the alien destroyers whole. No debris fell. They were simply gone. For a heartbeat, the enemy fleet froze, shocked. Then the warlord's voice boomed over open channels, reaching every ship and every soldier. "Humans, your time is over. The Titans belong to us." He ordered an all-out attack. From every angle, alien ships dove toward the Titan, unleashing everything they had. The desert below turned into a storm of fire and glass. The Titan moved with impossible grace for something so huge. Entire sections of its armor shifted, changing shape mid-flight. Shield arcs flared, deflecting plasma beams into the sand, leaving molten rivers in their wake. In Earth's orbit, something else stirred. The energy from the Titan's awakening had triggered other responses. Satellites long thought dead began transmitting. From deep in the oceans and hidden mountain vaults, smaller silver vessels rose into the air, breaking through the clouds to join the fight. Human pilots, hastily trained and wearing borrowed suits, entered the Titan's hangars and took command of these ancient ships. They weren't armed like modern fighters. They were faster, sharper, and their weapons bent light itself. In the chaos, Amelia saw the alien flagship turning its massive forward cannon toward Earth's surface. The warlord wasn't just aiming for her. He was going to erase the planet's largest cities in a single strike. Target locked on hostile flagship, the AI said. Warning, enemy weapon is capable of planetary fracture. Amelia swallowed. The Titan had one option, a hyperspace jump directly into close range. Dangerous, risky, possibly suicidal. Do it, she said. The stars blurred. The sound inside the ship deepened to a bone-rattling hum. Space twisted, and in an instant the Titan was gone from the desert sky. When it reappeared, it was behind the alien flagship, so close Amelia could see the burning heat from its reactor vents. The AI spoke again, calm as ever, firing primary weapon. Return of the Titans. The universe went silent for half a breath, then the Titan fired. It wasn't a beam, a missile, or a blast. It was a ripple, a perfect tear in reality that expanded in every direction. Light bent, colors bled into each other, and the alien flagship simply came apart. Not in an explosion, but in silence, breaking into fragments of dust that scattered like ashes into the void. The shockwave tore through the alien formation. Ships buckled and vanished, swallowed by the same rift that had erased their leader. In moments, the once mighty armada was in full retreat, fleeing into hyperspace with engines burning at maximum. Inside the Titan's command core, Amelia stood frozen, her hands still on the control sphere, her chest heaved with every breath, her pulse hammering in her ears. Threat eliminated, the AI announced. Primary systems remain operational. Earth's orbit was littered with glowing debris, but the planet was safe. From the desert below, cheers and disbelief filled the air as the sky cleared. The massive ship, now fully awake, hovered above the world like a guardian out of legend. But the AI wasn't done. Signal received from deep archives, it said, coordinating with Global Titan Network. Before Amelia could ask what that meant, the ocean began to move. Thousands of kilometers away, a swell rose, not a wave, but a wall of water, parting to reveal a silver hull the size of a mountain rising from the deep. In the polar ice caps, massive structures broke free of their frozen prison, steam exploding into the air. From jungle valleys and desert canyons, more Titans emerged, their metallic skins gleaming under the sun. Dozens of them. Some shaped like blades, others like living creatures carved from starlight, all older than human civilization itself. And every single one was answering the same call. From space, the Galactic Council's observation fleets watched in silent horror. They had expected one Titan, maybe two. But this was a fleet the galaxy hadn't seen since the last human empire. Amelia looked at the holographic star map blooming in the command chamber. The Titan was marking worlds across the galaxy, some she recognized from human astronomy, others far beyond. "What is this?" she whispered. "The war is not over," the AI replied. "This is only the first battlefield. The children of Earth will rise again." Far beyond, in the cold black, dormant enemies stirred at the awakening of the Titans. Old rivalries, thought buried, began to breathe again. And in the heart of the galaxy, something even greater watched from the dark, waiting. Amelia stood taller, her fear replaced by something else, resolve. She wasn't just an archaeologist anymore. She was the first commander of humanity's oldest and most powerful fleet. The final transmission from the Titan rolled across every channel in the Sol system, a promise in the ancient root tongue that EVO's eerie alien could understand. The long night is over. Humanity has returned. And in the silence that followed, the stars seemed just a little closer.